Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of our Thursday Catalyst Meditation, our Thursday morning Catalyst Meditation. Um, as we usually do, I do a talk in the beginning, and then we do the actual meditation at the bottom of the hour. The talk today, I was going to talk about humanity being one species, and I think that this is a very relevant topic right now. When we start looking at our problems, and I'm talking about personal problems, your own personal problems, your problems in your most immediate groups, your family, friends, neighbors, people who impact you in some way, your larger groups, your government entities, your social entities, either online or in person, your church, etc. When you start looking at this in a larger sense, the other people you interact with, different ethnic groups, etc., you start seeing that all of our problems stem from us not acting as though we are one human species. All of our problems stem from um, the us treating each other as the other, us seeing each other as the other. Um, I think it's important that we do that. I think it's important not just that human beings treat themselves as one species. I think it's important that we treat all life on this planet as one life. Um, all of our lives are inextricably linked to each other. Um, Inextricable is a really big word, and all it means is that you can't break the link. You can ignore the link. You can act like the link isn't there, and that's what we do with most people that we um, aren't getting along with. We act like we are separate from them. Um, so we don't oops, of all the things that I did, I didn't turn my alarm off that says that I'm on this call right now. Um, so um, we take actions, and actions are taken in our name as though we are separate. We are separate from all the groups I just talked about. Uh, what would we do if we acted as one species? And I want to talk to you about a couple of things that drive the world to the brink, and we don't have to do that. One of the things is when we act as though we're separate, we waste time, energy, money, and goodwill. And when we waste that goodwill, we feel that we have to defend ourselves against the other. So I was going to show you um, some images of a project that, because of my late start, we'll just have to take my word for. And this is a huge um, hydroelectric project in China. Right now, the Three Gorges Dam that you've probably heard of at some point in time is the largest hydroelectric project that the world has ever seen. And the Chinese are about to dwarf that, about to make that so small it'll look insignificant. Now, there's a slight problem with it. Three Gorges was located completely inside China. This new project that's called the Me Dog MEDOG, hydroelectric project, if you want to look it up yourself, um, is multiple times the size of the Three Gorges dam, and will generate a multiple times the electricity, but it's right on the border with India. And the water goes to India, and they didn't ask India anything about whether or not they wanted their water dammed up. And India is saying, this is going to have dramatic and catastrophic effects on. And the Chinese say, well, so what? That's you. Um, the Chinese are saying, I can do this. This is the ultimate of breaker thinking, the ultimate of exclusivity. I can do anything I want to do with my property, and if you get consequences, that's your problem. That's your problem, and you're going to have to deal with it. That will lead the world to the brink of war. And the Chinese say, well, that's okay. We'll win it. There's a whole lot more of us than there is of them. That's old thinking because there are now more Indians than there are Chinese. But that's the way that they see things. Okay. Um, so our challenge is, can we look at things differently? So when I got to Me Dog, um, uh, I asked myself, what are the biggest human projects happening in the world today? That Me Dog is one of them. You've heard of this absolutely ridiculous project in Saudi Arabia of making this project called Neom, which is a city in a straight line that goes for 180 kilometers or something like that. And there's no purpose for this thing other than to say, oh wow, gee, a city in a straight line. I've never seen one of those. Let's go and look at it. Let's spend a bunch of money going over there looking at a city in a straight line. That project is 370 billion dollars. Then you get to SpaceX. SpaceX has a current valuation of $350 billion. That does not include NASA's contributions to it or anybody else's contributions to it, and doesn't include over time. So that's a massive amount of money. But those three projects, if you add them all together, come to $870 billion. Take my word for it. I did the math this morning. $870 billion is a fraction of the world's largest human project. And the world's largest human project is called war. We spend $2.7 trillion on war every single year. That's just the 2024 figure. 2025 figures haven't come in yet. All the money that's being racked up in Gaza, in South Sudan, in Ukraine, and all the other places hasn't even been added up yet. So we spent something close to $12 trillion on war in the past 5 years. And I'm going to actually give you at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was thinking ahead. I'm going to give you a link right now so you can check my math. If I said this wrong, if I did this wrong, you can say these are the folks who know more than you do, Sharif. And it's called the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. You now have the link. Look it up yourself. Um, Now, when you put it like that, when you look at things that way, why in the world would the largest amount of money that we spend as human beings be spent to separate ourselves from other human beings? That is a flaw in our minds. It's a flaw in our hearts. There are lots of different folks out there trying to correct this flaw, but if you don't understand the flaw, you can't correct it. The thing that Commonway does, and the thing that we have the philosophy to understand the problem, and we also have the philosophy to understand the solution. If you can't understand the problem, you'll have a faulty solution. And I'll give you a couple of very uh, serious flaws, and then a very serious solution. Uh, before I do, what would happen if we spent 2.7 trillion dollars a year on the health, welfare, benefit, and spiritual uplifting of humanity? What would happen if we did that? Um, we couldn't even begin to fathom where we would be just in 2 years. I mean, yeah, just things like, eradicating hunger, eradicating war, eradicating anything that's not going well for us, universal health care for free, universal education as far as you want to go. That's just off the top of my head. And this is morning. I could come up with more by the afternoon. And so we can't live up to our potential because we see each other as separate. We see ourselves as separate entities, individuals, nations, ethnic groups, genders, any way that you separate, we're in that mix together. Um, there's some of us that see that think that the problem is um, capitalism. And there's been a whole bunch written about the evils of capitalism. If I had a magic wand, where's my magic wand? Okay, this is I usually have a broken pencil to wave around as my magic wand, but this is actually a pencil that works. That is closer to a magic wand. So if I wave my magic wand and there's no more capitalism, does that say that there's no more problems on Earth? Or that before capitalism, before the Middle Ages, we didn't have any problems? So whatever that problem is goes back further our uh, than capitalism. Um, there are people who say, okay, well, the problem is racism. Okay, well, just take it back. That in the times when we were so isolated, we didn't know other races existed. Was that the problem? Start of the problem? No, it wasn't. So our challenge is, can we understand our problem more profoundly? And I believe that we articulate that just about every day with regard to Commonway. And that is seeing ourselves as separate, seeing ourselves as I am separate from you. Um, I am separate from all of the other beings on this planet. And I'm actually separated from myself. I have the consciousness that I am separate from myself. I can do things to myself that are injurious, and there are no consequences to that. So our challenge is to cure ourselves of um, this flaw. The flaw that I say goes back 10,000 years. I say 10,000 because it's a nice round number. Um, there are people actually honing in on that number. They're saying that it may be 12,000. I've seen people come up with definitive um, uh, options for this for our beginning, what the beginning of this consciousness that I call the breaker consciousness. I also call the Solon consciousness. Solon being I am solitary. There's just one of me, and I'm the most important being in the universe. Um, and our and that they've been honing in on 12,800 years. I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter whether it's 10,000 or 12,000 or 14,000. What matters is that this consciousness has been in control of humanity and in control of our planet way long enough. We, without starting a war, without starting a fight, without campaigning against anything or anyone, we can change that. We can change that way of looking at the world simply by looking in the mirror and saying, first step, changing that one. And our challenge is understanding how profound that change is. Now, in my research yesterday, I came across a bunch of organizations well, actually, um, the when you do Google searches now, their AI jumps in front of the search and says, "Oh, look at what we came up with." Um, and I don't appreciate that, but it does. And it jumped in front of my search of what organizations or people were have a goal of the unity of humanity. And it's interesting how they came up with one. Um, well, and no, believe me, it wasn't Commonway. We're not that famous yet. Um, but they came with the Baha'is, the Baha'i faith. And that's something, I mean, that the Baha'is have been talking about this for the longest time. And I think that it is uh, I think that their philosophy has been clear for the longest time. Um, their approach to it is on religious grounds as opposed to on any other grounds, on political, um, cultural, ethnic, uh, spiritual, as opposed to religious, which means that you would welcome all other religious all other spiritual quests and people who are not on a spiritual quest. And I think that the Baha'is do, but I don't want to get into um, a religious argument here. Um, but the question then is, who else and how else is this being done? And um, the AI said, well, the UN is there, and they talk about the unity of humanity, and but the way the UN acts is especially when they go into war zones, is some folks are right, some folks are wrong. I'm going to point my guns in this direction. I'm going to have guns in the first place. All those things are part of breaker thinking. And I thought it was interesting that this AI dug out a number of those, as you've heard me talk about, the lineage of Commonway. That includes Mahatma Gandhi, that includes Martin Luther King, That includes Václav Havel and Nelson Mandela. Um, they were saying, yes, these people have been doing that. And I'm like, cool, we're on the right path here. Um, and but all of them stopped short of or did not clearly indicate that we're talking about a different consciousness and that the flaw is not those people over there. The people I can hold signs up and say, you are the problem. Stop doing what you're doing. That the problem is them and right here also. That, as Václav Havel said in his writings, which I think everyone should read right after you read mine, um, Havel said that the line between the victim and the victimizer runs straight through each of our hearts. I only see and pay attention to the harm you do to me. I can't see, I refuse to see. If you choose to see it, you can see it. I refuse to see the harm I cause myself and the harm I cause the other, whoever my other may be. Um, and so, because we refuse to do that, we flail around. We spend $2.7 trillion separating from each other. We won't spend, $100 to help that person that we think of as the other. We have to change that. We're going to change that. We're changing that. Some years ago, I did a workshop series on this, on how the two workshops I'm thinking about right now. One of them was called Engaging the Other. And this is, I think, a 2 to 4 hour workshop uh, with exercises of how you actually deal with someone who's presenting other energy to you in real time. The second one, and the reason I'm telling you this is that I'm reviving both of them. The second one is called Releasing the Shadow, Embracing the Light. And just very briefly, to remove from yourself the four shadows that plague our society. The shadow of violence, the shadow of the other, the shadow of lack that manifests itself as poverty, greed, and hoarding, and the shadow of despair, which shows itself in many, many different ways. Replacing that with the four lights: the light of peace and security for all, and us all beings, not just all people. The light of inclusive community, that humans on this planet form one community, not more than one. Um, the light of abundant enoughness, that everybody has enough, and the light of deep fulfillment, that people are deeply fulfilled living in the society, no matter where you are in the society. So we did those for a number of years and were very successful, and I'm about to revive them so that we can take this into both of those were done in pre-Trump eras. Things have changed a lot in the times that we've done that. And so pulling that together is going to be, I'm really looking forward to pulling that together. There's some things that I do that I almost always remember to do. And then there's some other things that I do that I almost always forget to do. And the things that I always put off to the end are the things that involve me asking for donations because I don't like doing it. And uh, I guess maybe more, 10 years or so ago, Commonway relied on a number of different sources of income, including donations, including book sales, including doing a lot of consulting work that is completely dried up for us during the Trumpian years here, and doing workshops and seminars and things like that. And now that most of the income that keeps things floating around here, and yes, I am floating, I have at least one nostril above the waterline here. Um, um, the that's changing, and one of the changes is the um, literally seeing the number of people who were out for the No Kings demonstrations, wanting a really different world and not knowing how to go about getting it, or forgetting that they know how to go about getting it and choosing not to do that. We are going to be doing something else, and we're going to be doing something different, and we're going to be giving people the option of A and B. And in order to do that, we need the resources to do it. Um, there are plans on how to generate those resources. I think that it's not a good society to rely on one source or even two or three sources for what you need to keep yourself going. So, um, but in the meantime, and over the next couple of months, it's needed, it's appreciated. I thank you for what you've done in the past. I am looking forward to doing more in the future. And I'm looking forward to you recognizing that this is an investment and getting something from that investment. Um, I'm sorry. I thought she was agreeing with me. She's leaving. um, and so I'm done with that. Um, um, I don't know if there are parts of what was presented in the presentation part that you want to discuss. Uh, and I've been on the verge of a sneeze for at least an hour, and it doesn't come any closer and doesn't go any further away, so I'm just there. But this notion of humanity as one species, I'm not even sure what a species is. Um, Someone said that there are 7 different species of giraffe, and you look at them and it's like, well, this one's got 3 humps on its head, and the other one has 2 humps. And do they care? Do they give a rip about how many humps they got? Um, one more thing, Greg. When I don't know if you've seen um, what they call the hybrid big cats, the pairings between tigers and lions, tigers and jaguars. They've got names for them, and obviously, from the big cat's point of view, it don't matter at all. They seem to get along with each other just fine. So, yeah, so we've got these things in our head that say these things are separate. And I think we need to get some things in our head that say, no, it's all the same thing. So, Greg, your turn here.
All right. Well, that comment preempted the one that I was intending to make, but I just taught about how we differentiate between species the other day. Sometimes they breed at different times of the year. Sometimes their sex organs don't fit together, and there's three or four main reasons why they're different species and they can't interbreed. And I learned that I forget what it is about ligers, but because of it, they can produce offspring, but um, one of the cats has something that makes their cubs grow really large, and the other one uh, uh, doesn't. And its mate, like the tiger's mate, if that's the right one, had the male has something that curbs that growth. So ligers get so big that they die because they can't support themselves. But anyway, that's just a little thing about speciation, right? We may be all one, but there's lots of differences that we can measure. But what I wanted to say was I texted Saxony at the end of your talk saying this is one of my favorite premeditation talks, and I want to be able to share it with people because that's the idea of how incredibly much more we spend on war than on taking care of each other should be truly eye opening for anyone who hears it.
Um, since I said it, I agree with you. um, yes. Um, and in order to do that, I had to do a mental double check here. In order to do that, you have to, in order to spend that much money on moving human beings away from you and killing them if they try to get close to you, you've got to leave everything you ever heard or everything that you know about your fundamental philosophical, religious, and spiritual beliefs. You have to take all that stuff and you got to put it over here and then say, okay, now we're going to talk about defense. And we're gonna make cluster bombs and we're going to do such and such. There's a specific kind of bomb that they make look like a toy, and they drop them out of airplanes, and they do that because they want children to pick them up so that the kids will have their arms blown off so that the parents can no longer fight in the war because they're too busy trying to save the life of their child. And the charge is specifically made so it doesn't kill you. So whoever thought about that, whoever commissioned it, whoever designed it, whoever deployed it should be um, held to account for their actions. Now, since everybody on this call paid for it, you paid the designers, you paid the deployers, you paid the politicians, you paid for all these things. We can't act like this is the first I heard of it. Well, it's sitting right in front of you. It's, the defense budget is sitting right in front of all of us, and we choose not to see it because it's those people over there that are the problem, not me. Once you accept that you are part of that problem, then and only then can you do something about it. Once you accept that, you can say, okay, what do I need to do to stop doing that? Okay. Then how do I talk to my neighbors about this? Because this isn't a left or right issue. And as soon as I start casting it in that, my neighbors stop talking to me. My neighbor stopped listening to me. This is a human issue. And we can learn if you take if you take my workshops, you can learn how to talk to people about issues that affect them, and that would be good. I did write down species though. Um, why? No, okay, so two things. Why is it important that we find the differences as opposed to having another word that finds the commonalities? Okay. Um, and I don't want to pick on the big cat, our big cat friends, but yeah, they're in my mind right now. So, um, the list of all the big cats that can intermeet with each other and produce an offspring. Call that a word. That's called the common cat. Okay. Or all the ones that can cooperate with each other. What are the names of all the what are it's a name for the one being or the beings that cooperate with each other? One of the things that I feel that's encouraging for me is watching what cetaceans do around humans who are in danger, and watching what humans do when cetaceans are in danger, cetaceans being whales and dolphins. We um, rise to the occasion. We will put ourselves in danger for the sake of saving whales and dolphins. And I'm thinking about beachings. I'm thinking about whales and dolphins that are caught in nets. Um, we create the nets. Um, if we, how we can um, do things differently. Um, the I saw something the other day, and it really blew my mind. Um, there's equipment that boat people use to scrape barnacles off of big boats. And someone took it out to where some whales are, walked onto the backs of the whales, and just started scrubbing barnacles off the whales. And the whales got it immediately, didn't go below the surface, turned over. How about under my arm here? You know, um, they get a lot of barnacles around. I don't know if whales have lips, but where their lips would be, they get a lot of barnacles there. And they just were scraping, scraping, scraping. And I would think that that would be the funnest job in the world, to be walking on another being and doing a pedicure, you know. And um, that's how we should be spending our defense dollars. Okay. Um, um, I was going to say one more thing, and Karen beat me to it. So let me see what she's got to say.
I think I saw something like that, but I wasn't sure if that was AI. That was a real thing, huh?
No, just because you and I saw it doesn't make it a real thing.
No, I know, but you had checked
I
it
think
out and it really was a real thing.
it looked real to me, but I haven't done the kind of checking to make sure it's a logical thing to do. I mean, it's not. This is not rocket science, you know. Um, there are situations where whales have come up, not a full breach, but like a half breach, and scrape themselves against the side of a boat to get barnacles off of them. And folks were in the boat and they're picking up these. I wonder if you could eat them. I mean, that would be an interesting source of protein there. um, I mean, there's lots of stuff in the ocean that people actually go after and eat. I mean, some barnacles on the side of a whale. I mean, why not? Seafood. Um,
Like the laundry is done.
yeah, I'm going to, but I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look for that. Yeah.
I can't afford to waste any time. I got a big one.
Uh, Karen, you had more to say?
Let me know as soon as you knew it was done.
And Angie, I'm going to leave you because I want to hear what Karen's got to say.
Well, there's a couple things that have kind of come to me this morning as you've been talking. One of the ones is the fact, and it's more on a spiritual level, that you know, God is within. And it's like I just had to laugh when I finally came to realize that, because it's the closest thing to us, and we think it's out there, or that anyhow. But then the more you learn about, then it's like, oh, and we're all connected. You know what I mean? It's like it was there all along, but it seemed hidden, or you don't really. And the fact that now I'm learning you can actually heal yourself because you can channel that energy, and I mean, there's all that kind of stuff. And then should I just keep going, and then you want to
Keep going. Yep.
okay. So then another thought that came up was, you were saying that, how can we compare, rather than comparing each other with differences versus commonalities. But what if we instead kind of looked at, oh, well, what are each of our talents? Because I really liked when you were talking about the four lights, and that deep fulfillment is one of those. And um wow, it blows my mind to think if everybody, it's my understanding we've all come in and we all have certain talents, and what a world it would be if people were really utilizing their talents, to the nth degree of, I mean, to recognize that what your talent is, and then to really utilize that. So anyhow, those were a couple of the thoughts
Mhm.
that came up for me.
So I will give you a couple of responses to that. Now that I got that down, now that I finally found a pen that has ink in it. And something I saw on the internet, and then something I experienced when I was something I read, found on the internet, and something I experienced when I was over in Uganda. What I read yesterday was yet another book on Mary Magdalene, and this one is very well researched and also has some interesting conjectures that this woman has put together. And I keep forgetting her name, and my bag is over there with the book in it. I may get up and get it if you before we leave. But she is talking about the whole book is about gender and the gender gap uh, in so-called spirituality and so-called religion. And she said that there's a prayer that Jewish men are supposed to do every morning. Um, and one of the declarations in the prayer is, "Thank God I'm not a woman." You did me good, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm not a woman. Oh wow, you can't ask for much more than that. And I thought, oh, good. I mean, do people still do that? I mean, I don't know, but um, that's pretty darn blatant. And it's one of the things where we treat each other as other. It's like that picture I've shown us a million times. I can't find it right now of the physicists that came up with the so-called Copenhagen interpretation of physics, which is the standard model that everybody bases their physics on. And it's 100 people. It's 100 people, 99 guys, one woman. The one woman is Madame Curie, and they just couldn't find a way to keep her out of the room. You know, some of them had one Nobel Prize. She had two in two different fields. Okay, it's like, oh well, give her a chair, put her in the back. And that notion, I'm going to make an assumption that women can't do anything. And I'm going to look out in the world. I'm going to find all the examples of women not doing anything, of women being kept from doing anything. And then I'm going to say, oh, see, that's an example. Um, um, Second thing was something I saw on the internet on a YouTube video. And it was this guy that was taking I think it's called rattan. It's kind of like a straw, and he took handfuls of it and he was weaving them and he was twisting them, and he was just doing this on the floor. And then he'd take different colored ones. He'd wind it this way and he'd wind it that way, and he got to the point where he built this, and there's a guy talking over him. This is a couple minutes, and he built this stool, and the stool was just beautiful. It's like this simple, it's just straw, and you got, and now he's got something. It's not even that he can sell it. It's that he made something with his own hands that was beautiful, and he made it out of nearly nothing. Um, okay, so that reminded me of when I was in Uganda. Um, I was there for about a month, and I got there's some things I wanted to bring back with me. Some drums and oh, I got drums right down here. I'll show you one of my drums. Um, if I can get it. No, it actually does not want to come out. It's feeling shy today. But I went to the um, basket weavers village, and I had okay, so the drum came out, and this drum is getting old. It's only 50 years old now, but they took the cow hide and made rope out of it, and then they took the flat part of the cow and they made uh the head and the double head of it, and it's still got the fur on it. You can pet your drum. And uh I bought this directly from the guy who made it. And I got a few more down there, but you don't want to see my drum collection. And I have to keep it down here underneath my desk because I have no place else to put it in my place. Um, but the basket is this huge basket. A kid could get in the basket. Um, and I went to the basket maker's village, and there's a woman there, and she's got this straw in her lap, and she's going, and when she finishes, there's a basket there that wasn't there before. And you could tell she was not proud, not arrogant, but confident in her ability, that she knew that what she was doing was good. She knew that she was doing something that was taught to her by her mother and probably grandmother. She knew that she would teach this to her children. Um, that basket is now about 45 years old. Oh, goodness, I'm older than I think. It's probably over 50 years old, yes. And um, I bought a bunch of baskets from her, and uh, the deal was I'll buy all these. I bought her entire output for like a couple of days, so she was happy. And I got it for a fraction of what you would go and pay for something like that in. I'm going to say a term that I think everybody on the line will understand. Pier one, remember Pier one? um, um, but the deal was you've got to carry this to my hotel, and hotel's about a mile away. And she loads them all up in the big basket, and she takes that and puts it on her head, and she touches it several times just to find out where the weight is distributed. And then she leads the way to my hotel. And I was behind her trying to figure out how to get a picture of what she was doing. Remember, this is 50 years ago. We don't have iPhones. Um, the iPhone exists somewhere in universal energy, but not on this earth. So, but what she was doing was, um, she was walking and she was making her neck move so that the basket and her head were stationary, and the rest of her body was moving around under the basket to keep the basket and her head even. It was amazing. So I wanted to get a shot of that, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. And every 10 steps, she would reach up and just touch the basket, just not push it, just make sure it's still there in this position. And so we walked to the uh, the hotel was set in a compound that had a wall around it. So we are walking there, and I was going to invite her in, have a drink by the pool, like it was a blistering hot day for me. It was probably just an average day for her. Um, and the security guards ran out to meet us, and and the security guard said something to her, and she gave them the baskets and turned around and walked away. And I couldn't figure out what was happening at at that point. And um, um, I, I'm trying to call back to her, and the security guard is saying something to me. And what he's saying is, we would not allow someone like that to come into the hotel. And I'm like, someone like what? And he says, well, look at her, look at her shoes. She's got these cheap sandals on. It's like, I'm wearing sandals. Mine are a little bit probably more expensive than hers, but what's the, oh no, she's just not the kind of person we would allow in here. So, two things. Number one, what would happen if her talents were recognized? Okay. that we stop making baskets with machines and we start going back to making them with human beings and paying the human beings what they're worth in terms of the work that they put in and the effort that they put in. That's one. The second part is look at how we can separate ourselves from each other. All three of the people in this conversation were Black. You know, I am an African American. Yeah, this is Uganda. I'm a foot taller than everybody else, but I'm still Black. Um, she, the basket weaver is Black. The security guard is Black, and he has a job, and that is to keep that Black person away from these Black people because they might infect those Black people. And so the problem, and I keep saying this over and over again, the problem isn't race. The problem is whatever it is that allows us to separate from each other. And we will find any excuse to do that. So I'm not seeing any microphones going on. So I'm going to say one more thing about this subject, and then I'm going to take another call, another idea here. I've said this before, but I'm not sure that any of the most recent people have heard it. When years ago, I was teaching at the Oregon Governor's School for Citizen Leadership. I was one of the core faculty, so they had me every day. And I was teaching them about this concept of engaging the other, of who is your other. And these were kids that were from all over the state of Oregon, 60 or 70 of them. They were all high school students, which means that they had to be in high school, but they had to be going back to high school. They weren't high school graduates yet. And for one of my morning classes early on, I said one thing for the entire hour. And the one thing I said was, all of the students who are wearing white underwear, stand on this side of the room. All the students who are wearing underwear of color, stand on that side of the room. How long did it take for them to start fighting each other? Take a guess. Unless I already told you the story, in which case you know. Anyone can guess. Yeah, I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
I don't know, 5 minutes?
Okay. Anybody else want to guess? Oh, Angie, I thought you had turned your microphone on. Um,
I,
uh,
I
if
can't
you,
understand why anyone would want to fight over something that silly, so, but,
Karen said 5 minutes, which is 4 minutes and 50 seconds longer than they needed. They couldn't get out of their seats before they start name calling, um, put downs. Oh, you're one of those people, etc. Okay, so how long do you think it lasted?
20 minutes, half an hour.
After on the third day, I said, anyone who mentions underwear or anything about the color of someone's underwear will be expelled. I'm not sure I had the power to do that, but well, I was an adult and I acted like I had the power. Generally that's good enough. And I stopped the experiment because I thought it was going to become violent. We had students who were saying, We were at Willamette University, and the students were two to a dorm room. I don't want to be in a dorm room with her anymore because she had different colored underwear. Um, in the cafeteria tables were dividing by underwear. Students were coming to me in tears. So and so won't speak to me anymore because I had the wrong underwear, and you couldn't change your underwear. I mean, it couldn't, you were labeled with that. Like, for example, if you're being teased by the kids who were wearing underwear of color, they wouldn't, if you couldn't wear your colored underwear because, oh, we still know what you are, we know what you said, what you had. That is exactly how the problems start. It didn't get any more exact than that. That's all it took. Okay.
And then did you guys process that afterwards? And
Yes, I did.
oh, okay.
Well, no, I didn't. They're still out there.
No, no, no.
That's-
Because it's like such a great learning in terms of, this thought then permeated and yeah, you know what I mean? It's just, it was a thought, it was an erroneous idea.
yeah.
Well, it's as ridiculous as what kind of skin are you wearing, So,
Exactly.
you know.
Now there were students who were saying to all of the other students, look at what he's doing. This is the lesson is we're supposed to get beyond that. And the other students would shoot them down saying, yeah, that's because you said that because you had colored underwear on. And not listening to them. I I've used this as an example before, but the movie LA Confidential, and I don't know what kind of movies you look at, but this is pure Hollywood and pure pretty a lot of people got beaten up in this movie. But as one guy was beating up on the other guy, he kept saying to the guy doing the beating, stop. Think about who wants you to kill me. That's who the problem is. Who wants you to kill me? And Russell Crowe, to his credit, after beating this guy into the sidewalk, said, "Yeah, let's ponder that for a bit." So, um, uh, can we act intelligent enough and rational enough to find out who is behind all this? What concepts are behind all this? Can we see the absurdity of these positions? Or do we just go in our guts and say, oh, I'm just going to smash these guys? So, Angie.
Well, what this brings up for me is that, I think we're just in general in the process of coming out of all of that age-old violent stuff, are getting beyond our animal nature, there are lots of ways to describe it, but that's kind of just, that's how I see it. That's how I hear it. That's what the predictions are, is that, this is all the stuff that we're helping to bring in and through. And at first it's just like like in the chemistry class, one of my favorite things was how you could, the osmolarity experience, where you would put one liquid of a density of one kind into another one, you sort of drip it, and you can see the little ripples of the densities as the molecules adjust to each other. And you do that, and you do that, and you do that. And then at some point in time, you put in one drop and it all changes color. And it was sort of like, that was one of my most favorite things that I did in chemistry class. The one drop, and all of a sudden, all the colors change,
Yeah.
And I think this is the same thing, that the new stuff comes in and comes in and comes in, and you don't see it, you don't see it, you don't see it, and then you see it more, and then you see it more, and then and so it's like it's a keep on keeping on kind of a situation. When I first started doing Tai Chi in my early 20s, nobody knew nothing about Tai Chi. You're doing that weird Chinese stuff in the park,
Yeah.
And now Tai Chi is in community centers, you know. I mean, everyone knows about Tai Chi. Same with Reiki. Everyone's heard of Reiki, you know. So it's like the energy healing has come into the point where it's becoming widespread. People know about it. Maybe they've done it, maybe they haven't, but the point is that, you know, it spreads through the consciousness of the culture, you know. And I think this is the same thing, where it's just keep putting it out there, and the more people hear it, then it gains momentum, you know. And then it's one drop and all the color changes, you know.
Yes, with a couple of twists on it.
Maybe that's simplistic, but that's just kind of how I see it as an overview, you know.
Yeah. No, it's not simplistic. I think there's some other factors you have to balance for. You were talking about Tai Chi. My um, example is bean sprouts on the salad bar. I remember when they first started putting bean sprouts on a salad bar, and there were folks like, "What's that stuff? It looks like grass." You know, I'm not eating that. And now, if the same person, you know, well, they don't have salad bars anymore, but if they did, they would say, "Where's the salad? Where's the bean sprouts on my sandwich? Where's the bean sprouts on the salad bar?" Because it's now familiar. The difference there was you didn't have any groups of people saying, actually you did, but you didn't have any organized groups of people saying um, bean sprouts are evil. Bean sprout Tai Chi is the work of the devil. Um, uh, and so it was able to grow without organized opposition. The same thing is true with regard to Israel Palestine. Left alone, those folks would work it out in like 10, well, in a few years. And they would work it out because it's in their interest, their long-term interest to do so. If their kids play enough together, and we're not even talking language, okay? Um, uh, if they play long enough together, if they do certain things together, when I remember, I just was reminded of this the other day. When I was in law school, which started 74, um, uh, the black students were putting monitors on the school buses because the desegregation orders had just come through, and we were the student monitors were there to report incidents. And after 6 weeks, I pulled the monitors off. I said, every single day is an incident. My folks are combing glass out of their hair because every bus had all the windows broken out. And they send another bus in and they get those windows broken out. And then after 4 or 5 years, these folks start dating each other. So much for the windows getting broken out, you know. Um, they began to see that one situation. Oh, here comes my sneeze.
Why not?
From her. That that was satisfying. Okay.
Get it out.
So, but they didn't have a Netanyahu or a Hamas leader stirring the pot and keep stirring the pot and making sure that the pot stays stirred, even if I'm losing. Um, um, and I've told y'all about, I'm not going to tell you this again. If you didn't get it, I'll give you a link to whatever video I sent. But the number of times when they did not want to win, they wanted to fight. They thought they got their power from fighting as opposed to winning. And we got that situation happening right here. We don't even have a road for winning. We just want to fight. I want to let the world know I'm not those people over there. I want to keep the conflict going. And then you've got leaders on both sides who say, yeah, let's bring it on. Um, okay. We're getting close to the time of last thoughts here. If you want to say something. Yep.
One quick comment. The last announcement that went out, the timing for Thursday morning read 6 p.m. and Esther texted me about that. So I said, well, just go on the link. I'm sure it's a typo. So
Um,
I don't know if that's why we had a small group, but it's interesting. It was interesting to me that the group today were all local Portland people. I found that quite interesting, you know. So
um,
that kind of tells me that movie night is energetically having an effect, you know, that
yeah. I am um, apologizing for that. I am making more mistakes, and I don't um, there's more on my plate, and there's more on my plate that's going weird. And it's interesting. Like, for example, um, I spent a few days with Ilarion getting figuring out what we're going to do for the next couple of weeks. And then he has a health crisis and he's not there. Okay, so that means I have to do more. No time to do the planning, but I have to do more planning and do that. And then, oh, I guess I should say also he's there. I was happy that his procedure is um, was okay, and he has the same procedure and over the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be timing it so that I get him on the beginning of the procedure and not the end of the procedure. Um, the but then when I add that to something else that's going on and something else going on, I'm I'm also feeling the things that want to go on. Like I really am feeling that engaging the other is a workshop that wants to happen all over again, that this is the time for it. That shadow to light is something that needs to happen all over again, and this is the time for it. Uh, that these are going to be the this is going to be the kernel of discussion cafes that like we had years and years ago. And that's going to be the kernel of permanent cafes. That's going to be the kernel of awakening centers. We're getting there now. But I really need um, what I need is we're going to get, and that is more people who are actually going to be doing the work. Um, um, so that there's someone double checking whether or not flyers or have AM or PM the right way. Um, um, I'm, I am really hoping that I hit the record button. This is good stuff, but I really hope I hit the record button. I'll as soon as we when we get off of this call, I'll get a notice that flashes that says recording will be processed within a few minutes. If I get that, I'm going to be yay. And if we don't get it, then something else will happen. That'll put me further back. Um, so so yeah, and then weird stuff like my computer wouldn't come on this morning. Like, why this morning when I need an early morning? Why this morning? did I turn it off wrong last night? How do you turn a computer off wrong? Um, why was it wrong last night, not tonight? So all this stuff is in motion. I am in motion with it. I'm maintaining a wonderful attitude about all of it. I'm not throwing the computer out the window. It might scare the crows. And we will do what we need to do and get to where we need to get to.
And I think it's helpful too when you can let us know what things you need help with, because I mean, I'm probably not someone that can help you with the tech issues,
I'm
so.
going to say, if you can come over here and check my LAN configurations and all the other stuff that the techno babble that they talk about, great. If you can't, there are other things that can be done. And if what you would then need to do is tell me I've got, 3 hours a week available. I've got, 2 hours a day available between the hours of such and such and such and such. And then we can talk about things. Okay. What needs to get
Well,
done?
that's partly why I wanted to facilitate the movie night, is just to try to get the local folks more connected and more together so that we can be, more of a support group, so.
And that is definitely positive. And if you let me think, not right now, and let me think when you and I are on a line to talk about what can be done. But the thing that I would need to know is kind of what time, what time, what times I can rely on. Okay, and we'll do a skill search. Like, okay, you already said count you out for the tech stuff. Okay, that's a big one, but okay. If I need a basket woven, can you do that?
Think about it, because the timing, of course, is always challenging too, because, I with the energy work, I give light to anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 people a week, and so some have regular days and times and most don't. So there's a lot of shuffle that happens, and that's fine.
Yeah, and that may be the thing that gets needed. As I keep telling you, I'm pretty amazingly healthy and fit, considering all the things that I could be running and challenging, etc. I was in a coffee house the other day, new one, a different one, and I was listening to these guys talking, and they're talking like old men. And I realized that each one of them was 10 years younger than me, and so I'm like, y'all need to hush. Um, and but there are things that I can boost that will get me more energy to take on things that I could take on 10 years ago. And I think that that's important. Okay, folks. So Angie, you and I are going to talk about that. We are going to go